The morning my security alarm went off at 5:02 a.m., I assumed it was a glitch. But when I stepped onto the patio of my beach house in Santa Barbara, wrapped in my old wool blanket and holding a cup of chamomile tea, I saw something that made my stomach drop. A moving truck was parked outside my gate, and standing beside it, arms folded like she already owned the place, was my daughter-in-law. The guard jogged toward me looking uneasy. "Mrs. Carter, she says she owns the house now. She's telling the movers to start unloading." I didn't panic. I didn't even raise my voice. I simply set my tea down and said, "Open the gate." He blinked. Are you sure?" "Very sure." Because by that point, I had been waiting for this moment. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 68 years old, a retired financial controller, and a widow who spent 40 years building a comfortable life between Pasadena and the California coast. My husband and I weren't born wealthy. Everything we had, our investments, properties, savings, we built ourselves. Apparently, that made me a very attractive target. My son Ryan married Vanessa Brooks 5 years ago. Blonde, charming, the kind of woman who always smiled just a little too perfectly. The kind of person people instantly trust. The kind who slowly studies everything you have before deciding how to take it. And what she tried to do nearly tore my family apart. But to explain why she was outside my gate with a moving truck at 5 in the morning, I have to rewind a bit. Ryan is my only child. After my husband died 12 years ago, it was just the two of us. We were close, maybe too close. I helped him through college, helped him buy his first condo in Los Angeles, and when he met Vanessa, I genuinely believed he had found someone who loved him. For a while, everything seemed perfectly normal. Then the small comments started. At dinner, Vanessa would laugh and say things like, "Ryan, your mom is so controlling about money." Or she'd grin and add, "Evelyn probably has spreadsheets for her feelings." People laughed, but the joke slowly sharpened. "Ryan, your mom treats you like you're still 12. You should stop letting her manage everything." At first, I ignored it. Families adjust. Personalities clash. But then one night at a restaurant in Beverly Hills, things crossed a line. We were celebrating Ryan's promotion when Vanessa suddenly leaned across the table and said loudly, "Evelyn, have you ever thought about seeing a neurologist?" The table went quiet. "What for?" I asked calmly. She gave me that sweet, poisonous smile. "Ryan and I noticed you've been forgetting things lately. You repeated the same story tonight." Ryan shifted in his chair but didn't say anything. Then she added casually, "Memory problems can be early signs of dementia." I remember looking directly at my son, waiting for him to defend me. He didn't, and something inside me quietly cracked. A few weeks later, Vanessa arrived at my house with a man she introduced as a lawyer. "Evelyn," she said warmly, "Ryan and I want to help simplify your estate planning. Just routine updates." The man introduced himself as Daniel Collins. They spread documents across my dining table, trust revisions, legal forms, pages full of fine print. Nothing looked suspicious at first glance. I had already done estate planning years earlier, so I assumed these were minor adjustments. So I signed. What I didn't realize at the time was that those weren't estate updates. They were property transfer deeds, documents that would give Vanessa control of my beach house. I didn't discover it immediately. I discovered it 2 weeks later during dinner at a restaurant in Santa Monica. Vanessa casually slid a folder across the table. "Evelyn, we should talk about your living situation." "My living situation?" "Yes," she said smoothly. "Ryan and I will be moving into the beach house soon." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Ryan cleared his throat. "Mom, you signed the transfer documents." I stared at him. "What documents?" Vanessa opened the folder and pushed the papers toward me. My signature was right there, on documents stating that I had gifted the house to them. My chest went cold. "I never agreed to this," she shrugged. "The paperwork says otherwise." Ryan rubbed his temples. "Mom, maybe it's time you considered assisted living. Somewhere comfortable. Assisted living. At 68. With a perfectly healthy mind." But what hurt even more was Vanessa's calm expression, like everything was unfolding exactly the way she planned. That was the moment I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a setup. What Ryan didn't know, and what Vanessa definitely didn't know, was that I had spent 4 decades in corporate finance. I know fraud when I see it. So, instead of panicking, I started paying attention. Quietly, carefully. And what I discovered over the next month made my stomach turn. Vanessa had opened 12 credit cards in Ryan's name. She had already racked up more than $80,000 in debt. And behind his back, she was quietly preparing to sell my beach house. But the worst part? She had been telling people I had dementia. At the time, I didn't yet understand how far her plan went. That became clear when the private investigator I hired called me late one evening. "Mrs. Carter, you need to see this footage." Before I continue, if you enjoy real-life karma stories like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I always love seeing how far these stories travel. The footage showed Vanessa sitting in my dining room with that so-called lawyer, laughing. They were discussing how quickly they could sell the house once the transfer was finalized. 2 months, the man said. Vanessa smirked. Perfect. That was the moment I knew 2 things. First, that lawyer wasn't legitimate. Second, they believed I was an easy victim. So, I did what anyone who has spent decades uncovering financial fraud would do. I built a case. Recordings, documents, bank records, witnesses, every detail organized perfectly. Then I waited. Because people like Vanessa always make a mistake. And she did. At exactly 5:02 that morning when she arrived with a moving truck, what she didn't know was that I had already contacted the district attorney's office. While she was standing outside my gate pretending to own my property, investigators were already on their way. About an hour later, Ryan walked through the door looking confused. Through the window, we could see Vanessa shouting instructions at the movers. "Mom, what's going on?" he asked. "Vanessa said you're refusing to leave." I gestured toward the chair across from me where my evidence folder sat on the table. "Sit down, Ryan." He hesitated. "Mom, if this is about the house, sit." Something in my voice made him obey. Outside, Vanessa shouted through the gate. "Your mother signed the papers. We legally own this place." Ryan rubbed his face. "Mom, you did sign the documents." I slid one of the papers toward him. "Look closer." He frowned. "That's your signature." "Yes." "Now look at the notary seal." He squinted at the page, then froze. "Wait, this number doesn't exist." Ryan blinked. "What? That lawyer Vanessa brought? He's a disbarred paralegal from Phoenix who has been involved in fraud investigations." Ryan stared at me in shock. I placed a surveillance photo on the table, Vanessa laughing with the fake lawyer in my dining room. His face drained of color. Then I handed him the credit card statements. 12 cards in your name," I said quietly. "More than $80,000. "That's impossible. Check the addresses." Every one of them pointed to his condo in Los Angeles. Ryan whispered. Vanessa handled the finances. At that exact moment, there was a knock on the door. 2 investigators stepped inside and flashed their badges. Ryan looked stunned. "Investigators?" I pointed toward the window where Vanessa was still shouting near the truck. "That her?" one asked. I nodded. 5 minutes later, she stormed inside. "What the hell is this, Evelyn? Why are there cops here?" Ryan stepped forward slowly. "Vanessa, did you open credit cards in my name?" She froze for half a second, then laughed nervously. "Ryan, don't be ridiculous." The investigator spoke calmly. "Ma'am, we're investigating allegations of fraud and identity theft." Ryan held up the statements. "Then explain these." "Temporary accounts," she said quickly. "For expenses." $80,000? "Investments." Then the investigator placed the surveillance photo on the table. "And this meeting with Mr. Collins?" Her face went pale. "That's a consultant who isn't licensed." Ryan looked at her like he was seeing a stranger. "Vanessa, tell me the truth." She lowered her voice. "Ryan, your mother is manipulating you." Then Ryan asked the question she couldn't escape. "Did you tell people my mom has dementia?" Vanessa hesitated. That 1 second destroyed everything. "You did," Ryan whispered. "It was just to help with paperwork. You tried to steal my mom's house." "No, it was supposed to be ours eventually." That was when the investigator stepped forward. "Vanessa Brooks, we need you to come with us." She pointed at me. "You planned this." I shook my head. "No, you planned it. I just documented it." Her mask shattered instantly. She started screaming as the investigators escorted her outside. "Ryan, tell them this is a mistake." But Ryan didn't move. He simply stood there while they placed her in the car beside the moving truck she had brought to steal my house. When the car drove away, the entire driveway fell silent. Ryan collapsed into the chair across from me and covered his face. "I'm so sorry, Mom." Vanessa later faced charges for fraud, identity theft, and forgery. Eventually, she took a plea deal involving restitution and probation. Ryan filed for divorce within a month. Our relationship took time to heal. Betrayal leaves scars. But these days, I still sit on the same patio in Santa Barbara every morning with my chamomile tea, watching the ocean. The house is still mine. The peace is still mine. And karma has a strange way of working, because the people who think they're the smartest in the room usually leave the most evidence behind.